All right. Good morning, YouTube. It's Nick with NK Landscaping again, as usual. Today we have something, I wouldn't even call it the same as what we do. This is very different, but it's interesting. So, in front of me, I have a pile of things. We got a winch mount, and a winch receiver, or a hitch receiver. Somehow, in the next 3 days, including today, we are going to turn this into a boat trailer retrieval device, I guess you could call it. So one of our clients lives on the lake. We've worked for them for a while. They just bought a boat, and their house has a launch ramp built in. They live right on the lake. They don't have the ability to tow a trailer. None of their cars have hitches. And they don't need to go anywhere. They live on a lake. So in the winter, they want to be able to drive the boat onto the trailer and pull the trailer up out of the water to get the boat out of the water. So we are going to affix the winch to a metal post, put it in some concrete, and make a little winch system. So it's going to involve a lot of welding and fabricating and painting, and there's going to be some digging still. But a very different video. Showing off skills that we don't use very often, so it's going to be interesting. So I'll bring you in for the next step here. All right, so we got the BX loaded. You'll see why we're going to need that in a minute. We're going to head down to the yard. That's where our collection of extra metal is. So we're here at our yard. Been making some progress cleaning up here. That's kind of part of what we're doing today. But in this pile, this is our scrap slash usable steel that we've accumulated over the years. There's some scrap that we're going to be collecting today to take a scrap run, but there's also some good metal in here that we keep around in case we need to do welding repairs or whatever. But what we're mainly after is right there. These are I think they're both 10 feet long. We have two of them. They're a 1/4-inch wall, 6-inch diameter steel pipes. I don't know what they're for, if they're for wells. Yep. Yeah, ramps, please. I don't know if these were well pipe or something, but they're very heavy, very good steel. So we're going to be using these as like a, I think like a parking bollard in front of like a commercial building or something where they fill them with concrete so a car can't ram through them. It's basically what we're going to be doing with them. We're going to weld a hitch receiver to this and put them in the ground with some concrete and then fill it with concrete. So this will be the actual standing post that will hold the winch so you can pull the boat out of the water. But we got to dig these out. That's why we brought the BX. They're super heavy and they're buried in here. But yeah, we're going to get sorted through this real quick. So there are the pipes that we came for. We only need half of one of these. We're only doing a 6-foot section, but we got them pulled out and I just blew out the insides of them because they were full of God only knows. Kind of sorted out our metal over here. So everything on this right side is what we're going to consider our keep pile. So this is all usable steel, heavy stuff. Some gems in here. These are pallet fork pieces, very thick. It's like 1.5 inch thick steel. And then all this junk over here is just scrap, really. There's some old tents that we had, pallets from different things, scraps, junk. This, Kurt just pulled this out and showed this to me. This is the loader leveling arm from our Kubota L35 that we used to have. We took that off because it didn't work, so it's just funny to see that it's still in the pile. But yeah, we're gonna not worry about this today. Not get distracted. I'm gonna load up our 2 pipes that we need. We gotta do some other shopping for some other supplies, and then we're gonna start working on getting those built into bollards. I'm gonna call them bollards, so let's do it. So we have our pipe set up out here in the back of my garage, so we have power. Both ends of this pipe have been cut, so they're not square or anything. And then about 3 feet in, right here, we have a big weld. This section, to me, is not usable for the project. This end is also not squarely cut, but this will be the underground side, so we don't need to worry about that. And if we come this way, I've made a mark at 6 feet. That's how long we want our pipe to be. We're gonna cut a square hole on both sides so we can slip our hitch receiver in. None of this is probably making a whole lot of sense on camera, so I'm just gonna start doing it. So Fitz is outside prepping the area of the pipe that needs to be cut so I can get a nice clean line around there. Meanwhile, I'm in here, I'm gonna be assembling this winch hitch mount. So everything we bought is from Harbor Freight. This goes in the 2-inch receiver hitch and allows us to mount the winch, plus it gives you some carrying handles because the client is not gonna store the winch outside full time. So it'd be easy for him to pick up and move around. This is a 2-inch hitch that we're going to be welding into the pipe so that we can attach the winch mount to the pipe once it's in the ground. So I'm going to build this real quick. Shouldn't take very long, and then we'll continue on. All right, the winch mount is assembled. All you had to do was put the little handles on. So a few bolts. All it took was a 1/2 inch ratchet and wrench, and I just had a breaker bar with a 5/8 and then 11/16. So that was super easy. Now it's time to pull the winch out of the box and mount the winch to the winch plate. So the winch is currently mounted to the winch mount. Fair lead and everything is on, hook is on. So now Fitz is going to work on getting the wiring done while I come out here and cut the pipe. So I'm going to show you a cool little tip I learned online from Colin Furze. If you haven't watched Colin Furze, you're out of the loop. But I'll show you a good tip that I saw on his channel to make a nice square line around a pipe. Alright, so recently Colin Furze put out a video showing how to make a nice square line on something round. I've marked the 6-foot mark that I want. If you take a piece of paper that has a nice clean factory edge, as you guys are falling over here, don't fall over on me, you don't want that. If you take your paper and you wrap factory edge back onto factory edge, slide that over, some tape there to hold it. Now I have a nice square edge that I can take my paper or my marker, I can trace all the way around that to give myself a nice square line. Pretty cool tip. So how do you cut 1/4 inch wall pipe, steel pipe, without like a demo saw or something? Now I have a demo saw in the trailer up there, but it's gonna take a while to cut this. So instead, we're breaking out the plasma cutter. So, long time ago, we had a project where we needed to cut some steel. So we went out and bought this Hypertherm PowerMax 45 XP. This is a very, very nice plasma cutter. So I have it hooked up to my shop air. Go ahead and turn it on. I'm gonna go ahead and give this thing full beans. We've got 90 psi of air pressure going to it on the max setting. That should be more than enough to blast through this pipe. This thing will cut like 1.5 inch steel. Not well, but it'll do 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna go ahead, get my goggles and my gloves on. We have it grounded out here. The way these work, if you don't know, basically uses high voltage to create an arc and then blasts air through the center of the nozzle. You'll see. And it basically melts the metal out of the way. So I'll probably have to cut a portion of this, roll it, cut a portion, cut up, you know, something like that. So let's get to it. Fitz is gonna hold the end of the pipe so it doesn't come crashing to the ground. And I'm gonna finish the last 3 inches of cut here. So. Ready? Nice. Not too shabby. So the next thing that has to happen, this is the top of our pipe. We want to weld a hitch adapter high up on this pipe. So this is the 3-foot mark. That will be from there to our right will be underground, and everything from there up will be above ground. So we figured about 6 inches from the top. This will be a comfortable height off the ground for you to hold the hitch plate and slide it into the adapter. So we've traced around that. I need to cut that out because this is gonna get mounted through the pipe. So I'm gonna cut that out, and then we're gonna have to cut out the back side of that too. So we now have 2 holes cut out on the opposite side that will allow us to slip that receiver through. So now I'll just have some cleanup to do, but we can weld this receiver right in here on both sides. So it'll be a really nice positive fit. So let me do some cleanup with the grinder on the edges here, and then we'll get ready to weld that receiver in place. So I cleaned everything up. I took the mill scale off of the pipe and the hitch. So now you can see exactly what's going to happen. So we're going to come around the back side of this. We're going to weld around that, leaving the hitch section open. So that's a pass through. This is the back side of the hitch. So this is going to be on the uphill side of the ramp. So you won't see this from the water. And then on this side, we have the hitch sticking out, so you can now insert the winch, pin it in, and I'm going to weld around this as well. So let's get the welder set up and get welding. So for welding, we have a Hobart Handler 210 MVP welder. I've had this for a long time. This is just a MIG welder. We are running gas, so it's solid wire. I've put a lot of hours in welding on this machine. I really like it. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a welding expert clearly, Hobart is owned by Miller, and I'm pretty sure some people said Miller parts are even interchangeable with this machine. So I've always had good luck with it, and it welds pretty well. Like I said, I'm by no means am I a welder. In 2013 through 14, I went to school for diesel technology, and part of that was welding. So I learned how to weld there at school. And I've never done any commercial welding or anything, only welding for our business, for repairs on equipment, or we reskinned a dump trailer one time, things like that. So I can do welding like this. I won't say I'm the prettiest welder, and I'm not a professional welder, and I'm admitting I don't know a whole lot about welding. I just know how to glue 2 pieces of metal together with a MIG welder, and like very minimal stick welding. So let's get this tacked in place, make sure everything looks good, and then we're gonna go ahead and blast some beads. Not too bad. It's welding pretty good. Alright, so a minute with the flap wheel. We got the back side cleaned up. Let's see how hot this is if I can flip it. That's pretty hot. Pretty hot, and it's stuck on there pretty good. But front side came out pretty good too. So I'm gonna get fits swapped over back to the wire wheel. Get this thing brought down to bare steel again for a coat of paint. Would you look at that? So Fitz did a second round wire wheel, and then just hit it with some acetone. That looks nice. So I bought for our base coat, I'm gonna be using the Rust-Oleum, what is this? It's fast drying primer. It's the, so it'll paint on rusted surfaces. So that will be really nice. We're gonna paint this on, probably a couple coats, and then we brought some Rust-Oleum black that's going to get rolled on. So here we go. All right, the bollard is now primed, so we're going to get the black paint on it. And I have to do one last thing. I just finished up with the winch in here. Boy, that was fun. Since this is an ATV winch, this is a huge winch mount for up to a 12,000 pound winch. It's meant to fit this winch, but as far as the wiring went, they give you a whole bunch of wiring to get you into the frame of an ATV. Then there's this solenoid, and then you have the remote that you can mount here. This is just a handheld remote with a lead on it, so you can operate it from far away. They also give you a thumb rocker switch, which we're not going to be using because it's not on an ATV. So I taped up and covered that up, tidied up all this wiring back here. I mounted the solenoid to the frame, so that's not flopping around. So we have just the lead, so you can plug your controller into. And I took the wiring. Camera turned off on me. Hold on. Okay. Took the wiring, loomed that up nice in electrical tape, and then on the end, the connections were way too small for a regular battery. We're running this off a brand new deep cycle battery that he's just going to keep charged. So I had to chop the ends off and solder on some new connections with marine heat shrink. I love using the marine heat shrink. It has glue built in, so it waterproofs the connections, and it does a really good job. I don't use anything other than that. So that is basically done. So Fitz is going to get that painted. I got to do a couple more things, not revolving around the winch, but the actual hitch for the boat. So I'm going to work on that while Fitz paints, and I'll bring you back in. And then I think next step will be installation of the bollard, and that'll be tomorrow. Fitz is getting a second coat of paint on the bollard here, and it's looking really good. Looks like you could buy this somewhere. Totally, right? All right, so for demonstrational purposes and to kind of iterate the idea behind this, I've set the mule up for a demo. I have a boat here. It's clearly not going into a lake, downhill, but hopefully you get the picture. The bollard will be mounted in the ground, about 3 feet standing out of the ground. So right about up to here on a human. So easy to insert your winch pack. So that just slots right into a 2-inch hitch. We connect our controller and we connect our battery. Very easy to do. And then on the boat end, we have a 2-inch receiver that will latch into the boat, so no modifications to the trailer. We have a pivoting little hook here, and you hook the winch right up to that. So now this can pivot left and right, up and down, side to side. And if all works as planned, should be able to take the winch. It's digging my boat into the ground, but it works. Now imagine too that this winch is not ground level, but about 3 feet out of the ground, so it won't be pulling on the boat on a negative angle, so it won't be pulling the boat into the ground. Be actually lifting up on the boat a little bit. But I hope that demonstrates the idea that I was kind of getting at here. It looks like it works in theory. Pulled the boat, no problem. It's a 5,000 pound winch. This boat weighs about 2,500 pounds, and the client said his boat is also going to weigh about 2,500 pounds. So should be a good thing here. So I'm going to get this put away. Fitz will get the second coat of paint on this. Weather's looking a little bit threatening, so we'll probably carry this inside for tonight so it can have a good chance to harden up and dry. So it's the next day, getting ready to load up and head out. Does anybody want to guess what this could possibly be? I wonder. We just wrapped it up just to make sure that it's protected for the trip over. I don't want it to get all scratched up. Not that it really matters, but I'd prefer to keep it in nice shape. Here we are on site. As you can tell, it's quite a steep hill down there. A lot of access. Here is the boat trailer in question. I believe it's a 18 or 19 foot boat. We're gonna get all this stuff unloaded, and then like I said, we gotta go get a load of concrete. We're gonna have them put it right in the trailer so I can back it all the way down the driveway. and it'll be right there at the bottom where we need to access it. So we're gonna get unloaded here and then go to the store. All right, so like I suspected, we are gonna be bringing the trailer down to the bottom. So years ago, I welded a trailer ball, or this step had snapped off on the original machine. You can see that's the original step. This got welded on, and then I bolted a trailer ball through there. Now this is a 2-inch receiver hitch, and that's only a 1 7/8 trailer ball, but this trailer's got a lot of tongue weight pushing down on this, so it shouldn't be a problem. Get the safety chains clipped on there. We're gonna load up the rebar because that's all super long, and then we'll bring this down. Then we're gonna go get our concrete because everything else is down there. So let me get this pulled forward, we'll get loaded, and then we'll make the very steep trek to the bottom. This works really good. I knew I put that on there for a reason. Now of course you can't turn very sharp because it'll whack into the backhoe, but we don't need to turn very sharp, so it works out good. So now that we're down here, you can kind of see what's going on. The previous owner put 2 tracks in for launching some sort of trailer. I don't know how you ever would do that on such a steep property. I mean, you could see I'm holding the camera vertical, and you can see those vertical posts back there. It's very steep. But trailer's down here. We got it chocked. It is unhooked from the BX, but we still have the chains on, and the BX is parked with the outriggers down and everything, just in case something fails. We're gonna go out and get our concrete, but the name of the game is right here. This is about 32 feet from the water, and the boat's only 18 feet long, so maybe 22 feet on the trailer. I'm gonna put our post right here, directly in line with that, so you just hook the winch up and pull it out of the water. So we're gonna go get some concrete and get our post in. So we got a whole pallet of concrete back down the steep driveway, and yes, it's chocked. And the truck's in 4-wheel drive low. Yeah, we don't need that concrete yet, buddy. We gotta dig a big hole. Yeah. So, yeah, we're gonna go dig a big hole. I'll catch it on video, and then we're gonna pour a whole bunch of concrete. All right, YouTube, we have a 3-foot by 3-foot by 3-foot hole. We have some rebar pounded into the ground, about 18 inches, and then we have some rebar just to tie this together. Nothing crazy. I looked up a bunch of specs for parking bollards, and like I said, they want you 3 feet, oh, not even 3 feet, they want you 30 inches in the ground, 18 inches of width around, 18 inches of footing total, and 6 inches of concrete under the bollard. Now this isn't exactly a bollard, so we're going 3 foot by 3 foot, and we're still going to pour that 6 inches of concrete under the pipe. Pipe will go in the center, and then we'll fill the top of it with concrete once it's in. So we're going to get ready to start mixing some concrete here. Take the BX up, load it up, start mixing. So let's get to it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's done, or at least the concrete is done. I won't say the project is done. We didn't use the full yard. We did 30 bags. Believe it or not, the BX can carry 12 at a time. That's absolutely amazing. That's 960 pounds, and it brought it down the hill no problem. So we gotta let this tack up a little bit. I've mounted the top, and we gotta smooth all this out, but it's looking really nice. So we just cleaning up now. Not much else we can do today. Can't touch wet concrete, of course, but all that needs to get backfilled, and the excess needs to go away. Grass seed and straw, and then this has to dry for at least a solid week before we even come back to test this. But yeah, so that's where we're at now. I'll check in with you at the next step. Alright guys, so it is 2 days later. We had a lot of rain yesterday in the morning, and we had to do some maintenance on the truck later in the day, so we didn't make it back here. But concrete has had 2 days to dry. We're going to give it the full week before we give it any sort of test. It's looking pretty good. It feels very solid, so that's good. We're going to backfill with dirt today, touch up the paint, and then seed and straw. So next week we will come and give the client a demo on how everything works. So that'll be kind of cool. But we're gonna get this wrapped up. We got some other things to do today, so we'll go from there. All right, we cleaned up our pile of dirt, seeded and strawed. We ended up putting all the dirt down there. There was a low spot, so we seeded and strawed that as well. But gave it a fresh coat of black paint just to clean it up again. And we'll be back hopefully sometime next week. They say they want a week, a minimum in the temperatures that we're having to reach 2,500 psi of strength. So we want at least that before we're putting any pressure on this thing. So I will update you when we're back here again. Alright guys, this is future Nick. I basically didn't get a whole lot of footage the day that we got to pull the boat out. You may just be able to see in the clip the front caster wheel of the trailer. We custom made one, so the wheel that was already on the trailer is just a standard plastic caster wheel on a jack. And we had concerns that that may dig into the ground like you saw with my boat. So what we ended up doing was we got a second caster wheel, or second winch with a caster wheel, and I basically cut the whole bottom section off, and we had like an off-road pneumatic wheel, so we welded that up, and then we just bolted that secondary trailer jack or winch or whatever you want to call it, bolted that on the tongue of the trailer farther forward of the factory one. So the trailer has still completely been not modified any bit, and that pneumatic wheel worked a lot better. So you can hear in the video the winch sounded like it was struggling a little bit. That is a 5,000 pound winch with over 100 foot of cable line. So in the future, if we have any trouble with that not being able to pull the boat out, I mean, it did it, and I I think the battery was a little low. I told him to put it on trickle charge, and he may not have done that. I did charge it before bringing it over, but we could just add a snatch block, double it back on itself. We'll double the pulling capacity. We'll half the speed that it pulls out of the water, but you're not trying to win any races here. All in all, everything went really well. Client was very happy. We got the job done. Like I said, it's not something we do at all, ever. We've never done something like that, but it was a cool project. I wanted to try it out, take it on, and it was a client that we've worked with for a long time. So sorry I didn't get a great set of video of us pulling it out, but it was very cold that day, and we just kind of wanted to get the boat out and get on to other jobs. So I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching as usual. Let me know if you would have done this a little different, or how you would have done it, how you would have tackled it. I will see you on the next one. Thanks.